Hiya, welcome back to the channel. So we are today working on the glorious Citroen C1, and if you haven't guessed by the title, we are changing one of those, and that is a rocker cover gasket, and we're changing it to try and stop this, well, this sort of corrosion preventative that's sort of all over the engine bay, and a smell of burning oil occasionally that we get from where it leaks onto that bit there, which is quite hot. So we're trying to avoid that by replacing that gasket. So this is a video on how to do that. So first, before I start, I need to take the airbox off. Now you probably won't need to cut this off to take your airbox off, because you're not as stupid as me and fitted tumble dryer pipes to your airbox. But I have, so I need to take that off. And then we can get to that, which is roughly where it's located. But first, I've got some very sad news. The turbo we fitted a while ago, it seems that it's dead. I mean, it has broken a couple of times before and I've fixed it. I mean, the bracket's broken a few times and I've fixed that. The switch broke and I changed that. But now, it seems that it's given up completely. But not completely, it works sometimes if you do the switch manual, but it doesn't work every time. I think it's fucked inside. So, you don't have to join us. I mean, you can skip forward a minute or so if you don't want to join us. But I'd appreciate if we'll join in a minute's silence. Right, so now we've got that out of the way, let's start unbolting some stuff. So first, let's take the foil packs out. And we've got 3 of those, so we need to remove 3 of them. And like this. Right, so put them in a safe place for the next person that wants to use them. Right, so that's the coil packs out of the way, and just push the wires a little bit out of the way as well. We need to take that out of the way, which holds the throttle cable in place. We need to take that shitter off, put the bolt in a safe place also. This should just sort of pull out nice and lovingly like that. Might have to feed the rocker cover underneath that. So now what else do we need to take off? So first we've got the pipe to the PCV, which wants pulling off. There we are. So get that shitter out of the way. And this is pretty sick actually. It's been nice weather all day. So of course 5 minutes before we're starting this, it's spitting everywhere. Anyway, now we've got some bolts to take off, and I think they're pretty much all 10 mils. I mean, I've had this off before when I checked the oil differences of the oil flush, seeing if that, it's fucking raining, see if the oil flushes worked, and I remember it was quite easy to take off. So we've got 10 millis all the way around it. We've got one there, one there, one there, one there, there, inside there. There is this wire here, which is normally put into there, but because I took it off before and the clips aren't very good, it's not actually held on that well, but you might have to take that off. There's also some wires up here which need to be addressed. And to do so, there are two 10mm. There's one there, there's a bolt there, and then there's another one there. So if I remove those nice and carefully, which I need to use both hands to stop the ratchet from twisting round and snapping all the plastic off. But I mean, it's undoing a bolt. It's not rocket science. So sorry, it's undoing two bolts actually. So it is kind of rocket science. So there's number two. This is coming out nice and carefully. So that's that out of the way. So now that is disconnected from the back of the hair box. So now I can just go around and unbolt all of those. And so far, they're all the same length. And I think they're all the same length, but that's something to keep an eye out for. I need to take this one off as well because it's in the way of getting to the other ones. This is riveting to watch. Now there's a couple which are on like studs as well, which I haven't taken out yet, as you've probably seen. Well, I'll leave them on for now. So I'll take all these out and just put them in a pile there, whilst making sure there's none of different lengths. Yes. So they do appear, I suspect it to be all the same length, which makes it easier. I mean, usually, to be honest with you, these cars are pretty easy to work on overall. And like this isn't a big deal. This isn't a big job. Well, I won't be saying that a minute when something fucks up properly. But this should now, I believe, be released. I don't think I've left any on. It seems that I've left some on somewhere. And yes, I have left some on. It was obvious really to anybody with half a brain. I mean, you were probably watching the video looking at them thinking, why is he not undone them? And the reason I hadn't undone them at the time was because I'm a thick bastard. So they are a different length, by the way. So now this might, yes. Right, so now I've got to wrestle this out of here, which can only really come sort of this way, like this. And then this is when we find that we get it off and we find that the gasket's the wrong one. That will be mint. Now, I need to lift this up, but you know what? I'm just going to struggle with one hand as I always do, just for your viewing satisfaction, or lack of. Just pull all them wires nice and tight and break all the wires going to the injectors and shit. Yes. Yeah. And there we have one rocker cover, or valve cover removed, and one engine. And this is the bit that I'm changing, which is stuck on very, very tight in some places. Right, so that is now coming off nice and lovely. Right, so that is our old rocker cover gasket. And as we can see, before we can fit the new one, there is some cleaning up to do. So, I mean, you can use a gasket scraper, but I don't want to take chunks of aluminium out, so I'm going to try this first. But what's more important is you don't want to scrape the shit into the engine. You want to scrape it out of the engine, like onto the hot exhaust, so it can burn off nice and easily without much effort. So I want to clean that off as best as we can with whatever methods you've got. Then I'm going to use some carb cleaner. And I've got rags, and I've got scrapers, and I've got wire brushes. Really, it's just where the gasket sits that needs cleaning. But main thing is you want to scrape the stuff off and wipe it off, and don't let it go into the engine. So, as you can possibly appreciate, to do so, I'm going to require both of my hands, so I can't really film it. And when you've cleaned all the points of contact for the gasket, we'll have something that looks something like this. Now, I've not gone mad. I've just given it a bit of a clean off with some carb cleaner and well, just rubbed it really, and a bit of wire brush, and just got any high bits off, because the way the gasket works is, it sits into a lip. This lip. And where it sits in there, if the protruding part of that lip is sitting against like the crust that's built up, then it won't compress the gasket enough to cause a seal. So now we've done that, now it's time to remove the gasket and place it into the rocker cover, for which we use nothing but the specific tools intended for the job of opening the gaskets, as you are witnessing now. Oh, there's a part number in case anyone wants it. So now I can take this out here, which leaves us in this position. So, as I said, the gasket sits in like a lip like that. When you look at it, you can't really put it any other way. Well, you'd think you wouldn't be able to. Now, some people use a bit of instant gasket when they're fitting these, but with a new gasket, I never do. Because the idea is the gasket is the rubber bit, and that should work without instant gasket. And if you put instant gasket on it, the next time you do it, you're going to have to take the instant gasket off. It causes a pain in the arse. I'm not saying that you shouldn't use instant gasket, I'm just saying I'm not using instant gasket until I put it back together and then drive home in it and there's oil pissing out everywhere. Which is, I mean, that's the reason why we're doing this, because, well, oil keeps escaping from the engine, as I've mentioned. So now that is sat there, it's not quite straight, I'm going to straighten that up. Better. And now, the trick is to feed this back into here without catching the gasket on the timing chain and ripping it out from underneath there, because that will make it worse than before we started. Once again, I'm going to have to use two hands for this, I think. But you can see what, it's the same as when I took it out, but in reverse. So, you might want to take the 710 cap off to give you more room, so it doesn't need as much room to hook over it, if that makes sense. When we've successfully got it that far, just inspect underneath and make sure the gasket is still where it needs to be, and then we can place it down on the studs from which we removed it. And if we look round it now, we can see that there is quite a big gap, which is how much the gasket is proud. So that's how much we're going to compress the gasket when we tighten it up. So that's a good sign, really. So now we can put our bolts back in, and because we're compressing it quite a lot, as I've just said, the shape of the gasket, you don't want to tighten them all up all the way to start with. So you put them in and then tighten them up a bit, tighten up a bit more, go all the way around. There will be a sequence where you're probably supposed to do these in. Not as important as what it is on like a cylinder head or anything, but it probably has got a sequence, which I don't know, so I'm not going to be using. I'm just going to use common sense to not stress the rocker cover any more than what's needed. So I'll put all these in, and there's all the bolts in. There's also two nuts somewhere, which I think I've lost, not there. So I'll put them on too. And then, when we've done that, it is time to tighten them up. Like I said, I'm going to go in a bit, do them a little bit, I'll go across. You can see it settles down as we go. I mean, it's plastic, so it'll probably break anyway. I'll put these ones in. And I don't know what the torque setting is either, so if you're coming for useful information, but you're at the wrong place, really. No idea what I'm actually filming, because I'm looking at what I'm doing rather than at the screen. Right, and they're all run up, but not tightened up. So now I'm going to finish tightening them up the old-fashioned way with my built-in torque wrench. Like this. Until I've done them all. And now after going all the way around a couple of times to make sure everything's tight, we can start putting things back on where they came from. So this one, this went there. So we can put that back on using this. Like this. Amazing. Very, very good. Very thrilling and exhilarating. And that's tight enough, fuck it, that'll do. Same with this one, which seems to be stuck in the heat shield. Right, so that goes on there, also with one of those. Yeah, it's not, you know what, I'm going to struggle with one hand. The things I do for my viewers. Get in, you fucker. Yes. That'll do. What else did we take off? We took these off, which need to be put back on. Now you can't really see any of this, but hang on. Maybe you can actually. That's amazing. Can't get it in the hole. There we go. Got there eventually. And the same with this air valve, which also goes on here. Somewhere anyway. Yes. So I put them in and tighten them up. Like that. And then we put these back into here. Like that. Which will fall out, but I'm putting them back in just because they're there. Right, now we can put our coils back in. Which also 10 mils. I mean, everything pretty much on this is 10 mils what I'm doing, which is handy because we only need one socket. So tighten those up. Yes. So we tighten those up. To specific torque settings. Yes. And we are nearly done. We need to plug these back in, which might be expected once you've unplugged something to plug it back in. Make sure that they're plugged in properly, because that doesn't seem to be clicking in very well, but it is in all the way, so it should work. Now we need the airbox, which, unless I've forgotten anything, it should be time to put on. So put that and just push it on, as has been done many times on this channel before, as regular viewers will have seen. Clip that on. Not forgetting the all-important cold air feed. Finished off with a cable tie. So that should be, unless, like I said, this starts pissing out oil on my way home or something, this should be the end of the video. So that is it for this one. If you've found this video interesting and stuck it out to the end, well done. There is a button to press for liking it. Other than that, don't forget to check out my other videos that are quite shit like this one. Subscribe if you feel like doing that. And there is even an Instagram page for this, which is also a waste of time. It's just stupid blokes, stupid videos, underscores between each word. So yeah, that is it. See you next time.